What's up, guys? Let's talk about it. Season 3, is it worth playing? This is a very frequently asked question that I was getting while I was live streaming, and what are my thoughts on the current season? So, just gonna run off as far as my first day one impressions on the game. Showing you guys some earlier gameplay just so you guys can see what I was doing because I'm not really engaging in the seasonal mechanic as much. Right now, I'm just kind of progressing because you got to level up your glyphs, and that takes a really long time. And those are only acquired, of course, by doing Nightmare Dungeons, but you can also do it through vaults. But it's a little bit more tedious. There's a bunch of traps. If you've ever played Path of Exile, think of the Labyrinth as kind of like the form of content, but inside of a dungeon. So you're still essentially just doing dungeons again and again, which is kind of really repetitive in terms of how Diablo 4 is designed. But start right off, let me go and go over like the campaign. The campaign was actually pretty cool. There is kind of a story. The visuals are pretty nice for it. Like, in terms of its presentation, it's relatively short. It's like 3 to 4 hours. But in terms of like the league mechanic, right, the new seasonal mechanic, you're seeing it right here. You go out into the open world. There's vault, and then there's like the open world. The open world has areas where you can just go to, and it's kind of like a little like trap that you have to deal with. And you can just go up to it. You push a button, and if you get enough of these little stones, you can put it in. It's almost like the blood lures. So you collect enough amount, which is about 3, and then it requires like these little stones and other things to get your powers up. But basically, you throw it in, and you engage, you kill some stuff, and then some loot comes out. This is obviously in World Tier 1. As you progress, the loot rewards may be a lot better. But even if they are better, I think it's a flaw in the design, because in the endgame, you want to be doing Doria for your Uber Uniques. That's like the far endgame content. While this does have these new stones that you can acquire, there are 2 unique ones. One of them is actually pretty decent, albeit we don't know if there are alternate ways to acquire other than the vaults, so there is your reason to actually engage in the vaults, which I'll show you guys gameplay of in a second. So basically it comes down to, you kill some monsters, and as far as the new monsters go, are they challenging? Is there going to be some new way to like fight them? Is there some tactics or anything that you have to use? No, it's the exact same as any other monster. You hit it until it dies, which is kind of disappointing. I wish there was just some more, I guess, variety in the monster type in terms of what it would actually do. Basically, it's just another skin of something that you'll just completely forget. Now, as far as the pet, because that is part of the main part of the season, right, is we get this new little sentinel, and it's going to be able to do some sort of damage for us that's supposed to scale with us, so it's supposed to be good throughout its entirety. You can see you can basically have 2 pet skills, and then you can modify these pet skills, which actually seems pretty cool on paper, but when you actually play it, the pet just seems to lag behind consistently. So maybe on higher tier content, maybe when the gauntlet comes out, it'll be a little bit better, but it feels like I'm doing enough damage to the point where a lot of times, unless it's some sort of like boss, the pet is just too far behind, and that's something that I wish could be maybe adjusted. But as far as it goes with the pet, here's kind of like another little picture of it. And there are some stones that I have not acquired yet, like Evernight as well as Genesis. These are the unique ones that are supposed to be super good. One of them can grant you +4 to all of your skills, but your pet has to use the skills. I'm not really a fan of the pet. Comparing to Season 2, the similarities are actually quite similar because you have to upgrade these. You can see these have ranks. And if you want to upgrade the ranks, you basically have to get duplicates. And how do you get these stones? Well, they basically just drop and you can craft random stones and then they just start leveling up. It's just like the vampiric powers pretty much. You just upgrade random stuff and then it just gives you more numerical stats on it. Now, there are some things that are kind of cool for the builds that require some sort of condition. I'm talking about the enemy needs to be slowed, the enemy needs to be bled or burning or poison, so it does open up the doors to potentially brand new builds using that sort of like thing where normally you'd have to get, let's say, the like fire bolt enchant on the sorceress, like it would use up one of your slots, right? So there is that you can kind of overcome, but you are still going to be objectively weaker. You don't have the Tears of Blood glyph. A lot of things just in general got nerfed, but that's like the main overworld, and that's like the mechanic of like the pet. To kind of explain it, yeah, you have 1 of your skills and then you have 3 support skills. I wish the design of it was specifically that you get to modify your own skills. That would have been way more exciting than modifying the pet skills, or just have an option to modify the pet skills, or you can modify your own skills, because some of these are actually pretty cool. There's one where your projectiles will home in on the target, but that only affects the pet's projectiles, not yours. So there's where I would have felt like there was really cool potential for basically a Path of Exile system. Now, let's go ahead and actually fast forward. I'll get you guys to the vault, which is essentially kind of the newer mechanic over here as well. Some areas you have to go through this little portal and then you get to the vault. But basically, in the vault, there are some areas where you're going to be able to get these like wardings, and wardings will give you bonus chests to open up. But you don't actually want to slam all of yours. I made that mistake, so here, let me go and show you exactly what I'm talking about. So you'll see over here on the top right where it says Zoltan's Ward. So there isn't like a shrine, and you can pay these pearls that you can acquire by just playing in here. And you will get these pearls, and you can get additional warding. And if you get hit by any of the traps, it will reduce your warding by 1. So basically, the idea is that you can go in, use these pearls, and juice up the map, kind of like in Path of Exile or something. But there is a loss if you get hit. So basically, there's a risk/reward, so you pay the pearls, but how many do you want to put in? If you put in more, well, then you're going to have more chances to get hit. If you don't put in that much, well, you're not going to be able to open up the chests at the very end because they require a certain, sometimes it's 1, and it can scale as certain things progress. Like if you do like the boss, I'm not going to show off the boss because there could be people that don't want spoilers, but as far as the boss goes, I'm going to be straight up with you guys on this. I'm not going to explain the mechanics or anything. I'm just going to say I was super disappointed with the boss. It was way too easy, way too easy. But the boss looked cool. But at the end of the day, I wanted some sort of a challenge, and I did it as soon as I basically could. I just did the progression of like story. If you're wondering how long is the story, anywhere from 3 to 4 hours is about right. I kind of was like reading my Twitch chat, and I was just doing other things. Plus, right now I'm on hotel Wi-Fi, so I disconnected a couple times. I don't know if that's because of the season or if it's because it's bad Wi-Fi. But overall, there are still some bugs in the game that exist. Like it's really rough for Diablo. Every single season there's bugs. Right now there's one with rapid fire and the brand new precision that got massively buffed, unfortunately. But nonetheless, yeah, you go into these like vaults, and these vaults are basically covered in traps. Now, if you don't have any of the Zoltan's Warding, don't worry, because you're not going to be really losing out on anything other than HP. And are these challenging? Some of the areas, I think they may need to be reprogrammed. And the reason why is you'll see traps that like you could just walk right past them because they're put in a position where you don't even need a path, which makes absolutely no sense. So something is maybe wrong with the random generator on that. But as far as it being like, you know, fun and brand new, it feels like I'm doing a nightmare dungeon, straight up, like exactly like a nightmare dungeon. However, there are a bunch of traps. So if you like the traps in Path of Exile, cool. But these don't drop uber uniques. This is my biggest problem. You can see like a chest that I opened up over here. Massive amount of like, you know, small stacks of gold. But is that really what's going to make me excited to come back in Diablo? Not really. I want to say that I'm a huge Diablo fan, so I'm going to play it like regardless. But for the players that are like, man, should I come back to the season? Is this going to be something that I'm really excited to come back and play? And I want to say, well, if you didn't enjoy the previous seasons, well, if you enjoy these little trap mechanics, sure, it could be fun once or twice. But if you're farming this consistently, what are you farming it for? The Uber Uniques don't drop in here. This is so backwards. They should have said there is a small chance for Uber Uniques to drop in these areas, so players will continuously engage in this form of content because we don't have Abertoire of Zir. So what do we do once we max out our glyphs, right? What is the new form of content? It's basically wait until the gauntlet comes out, which is kind of disappointing because I think that you should always want your players to engage in the new content throughout its entirety. So that's where I feel like they kind of missed the mark just a little bit, and they should have made it so anything can drop in these. Versus, well, if you want the best of the best, go to Duriel. He's got the 925s, he's got the Uber Uniques. So that's at least my day one impressions. We can update it in the future, but I'm curious to know what you guys think about this season so far. I want to say that if you want to play certain things like maybe like the Meteor Sork or like the Charged Barbarian or even the Lightning Druid, there is maybe a reason to come back into the game. But as far as like, you know, the people that are huge fans of, let's say, D2 or even D3, the smoothness of this game and the streamlined like progression, it feels still in a state where I would say that it definitely needs more improvements. I'm not excited about leveling up the glyphs every single season. That's kind of like a pain and a chore that I'm just not a fan of. But I'm curious to know how you guys feel about Season 3 so far. But if you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit subscribe, turn that bell, and I'll update you guys on my thoughts later as we will maybe learn some more things. But there are a few new uniques, so I'm going to have some fun and kind of mess around with some stuff. But overall, your character will still feel objectively weaker in Season 2, and I think that that's one of the biggest mistakes in any action RPG. You need to be able to progress and feel like you're getting stronger and stronger. But anyways, thanks for watching. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.